sexual discipline. A lot of y'all just want them to only have sex with you when you feel like having sex. And if you ever thought I wasn't discussing consenting adults, you, my dear, probably need to step out the conversation, go get some therapy, or wait and ask some more questions. As far as I'm concerned, for a group of people who have centered a majority of our history alone around sexual expression, aside from oppression, it's quite funny how we always want to bash men and tell them that they can't control their tendencies when we want to be able to do it whenever, however, with whoever we want out loud and not be ridiculed about. Sex shaming and sexual discipline are not the same thing. And even Oxford would agree with me because, per the definition, discipline is defined as either punishment or people obeying a code or rules of behavior. Even numbers agree with me. There are more men who are not sexually active and actually virgins on count than there are women. And I'm not saying that women lack sexual discipline. What I am saying is sexual discipline is a myth and it really just doesn't exist. It's something that we made up in order to dick police men, because you're basically saying, I know you're getting erect, but I don't want you to use your penis to sleep with other people, even though it's going to satisfy you. I want you to save it to please me when I get ready. And that sounds insane. The art of sexual discipline when it comes to men is really not a thing, because women spend majority of their time telling you, it's my body, it's my choice. I sleep with who I want to sleep with. And if that's the case, then we should be applying the same rules to men, not trying to make it seem like they cannot refrain from having sex, when in reality, most men are not getting sex. And if they are, they're not getting it the way they want. Check the marriage and divorce rates. For the ones in the back who are always talking about, I don't want to have sex because I don't want to catch an STD or STI. You're not actually practicing restraint from sex. You're practicing restraint because you are fear-mongered out of having sex. Has nothing to do with you actually being disciplined. In regards to the people who keep saying, oh, well, he make multiple baby mamas, this, that, and the third, it's a morally subjective argument. Sex is the act of producing babies. The sex was intentional. The babies are a consequence of the sex. So even with that, there is no sexual discipline being lacked in the context of two consenting adults creating a child. I didn't think I would have to tell y'all that, but apparently that I do. For my sexual addiction people, imagine somebody telling you, you have sex too much. I think something wrong with you because of how much you choose to have sex, because you should not be having sex the way that I think you should be having sex. Actually, having a lot of sex is healthy for you. So I personally do not adhere to the fact of sexual addiction or nymphomaniacs. And I'll say y'all favorite bullet point for last, which is the cheating, because you kept mentioning this and I never brought it up. But since we're here, it doesn't actually represent a lack of discipline. It actually represents a lack of integrity, because you take a oral vow with a person. And if you break that vow, if it's supposed to be monogamous, that means you're just dishonest. But you actually going to say, hey, I'm about to relieve myself with the person that I'm attracted to. It's not a lack of sexual discipline. What that really goes to show is if you're used to having multiple sexual partners and you went to one sexual partner, that is where you would get restraint. Still not defined by discipline. So at the basis of this argument, majority of y'all are just taking moral standing grounds, and morals are fickle. They do not apply to everybody. Sexual discipline is a myth.
Elephant in the room. Let's deal with the elephant in the room before we even.
Let me get this. Did you hear that?
Look, I heard her talking, and that's what I heard. Elephant in the room.
Mm-mm.
I am a happily married man, but I have eyes. Oh boy, do I have eyes. She had them girls out. She definitely had them girls out, which is ironic talking about a sexual discipline video.
I didn't notice.
So check this out. I'm married, and I talk to a lot of people who are married, and I just pulled up a New York Times article from March of 2018 to substantiate this. The number of men in sexless marriages jumped from 9% to 20% in 2018. Husbands ain't getting no cheeks. They're not. And
whoa.
They're not. And here's the thing. Especially if you're a Christian, how do you let that fly? This whole my body, my choice thing flew out the window, but we said, I do, man. Look, I get it. You tired sometimes. You had a bad day sometimes. Okay, I'm going to give you grace for that because you a good wife. But when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if we got to schedule it. I don't care if we got to hire babysitters, do it. It got to be done, man. I know too many married men who are not getting it enough from their wives. Or here, this one's even worse. They're getting it, but the enthusiasm that comes with it is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I could preach about this all day. And no, I'm not trying to justify cheating, but what I am trying to say, and I've talked about this before, the number of people, the problem with monogamy is the monogamous people are the laziest. They're the laziest. You don't do the stuff you used to do to keep them in winning. You more than likely have gotten fat and out of shape and let yourself go. And you probably changed as a human being entirely. Like, I don't understand. This is not up for negotiation. If you want me to only be exclusive to you, she talked about sexual monopolies in that video. All of these women want you to be, they want to monopolize your sexual satisfaction, but they don't want to be responsible for it either at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, the nympho thing, she talked about nymphos a little bit. I think that's a myth too. I think you just marry somebody who's sexually incompatible with you. There's people that go at it like 6-7 days a week. They've been married for years.
Yeah.
You got to think about sexual compatibility too, especially men. We know how important sex is for men.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't even listening to her. Like I could not.
You couldn't get past them, huh?
I already stopped sharing it, but I was like, I don't know what this girl was talking about. Like, it wasn't until like she got to her third or fourth part, like, oh, she's still going. Like, oh, let me try to listen to whatever she was trying to go into. Here's the thing. You're absolutely right. So the whole sexual discipline thing. Look, if you're in a relationship, and I agree with you that the cheeks are not being clapped in and a lot of times in those marriages, sometimes in these long marriages, or not long marriages, but long relationships as well too, because for whatever reason, and I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that for a lot of men just have to be men want. You're asking that guy to just only be with you, and for a lot of men, when we don't, like, women could just pick up a phone. They can pick up your phone. They can just go to the grocery store. They can, they already know it's ready to go for them. They just got to give a guy a look or send a text, and it doesn't take much. But for men, I mean, we probably have like, for men in general, there's probably going to be like every now and then you might get something thrown at you, especially if you're a married guy. Sometimes I feel like sometimes you get thrown. I feel like from what I've heard is that you get thrown at you more often once they find out that they can't have you. But for a lot of men, like in those marriages or relationships that, they're not doing anything, they're becoming less of themselves, because part of like that whole marriage thing is, you got to be able to have sex with your girlfriend or your wife or whatever. And you're making a discipline, but it's like a forced discipline. I'm disciplined. Like what Chris Rock said the best, you're as disciplined as your options, or you're as faithful as your options, I suppose. But women don't do it.
That's 100% true, by the way. I believe that when Chris Rock said a man is basically as faithful as his options, I believe that.
Yeah.
So for people like me who are monogamous and married, I think the key for me is to keep myself out of unfavorable situations. Like whenever I'm out hanging out with friends, I look at I call it the D to P ratio. If there's more P's than D's in that room, and the women is heavily outnumbered the men, and some weird stare downs and conversations happening, I'm like, man, let me get on out of here, because I ain't trying to mess up nothing, man. I'm gonna just go home to the crib, watch some movies, and get it in. But look, I keep going back to this because marriage has been branded so terribly nowadays. It's all about first of all, whoever came up with happy wife, happy life, somebody slapped the hell out of it.
Hey, the same boomers that are voting from Kamala. I know I got a lot of Kamala smoke today. It's true.
Probably. Look, at the very least, it should be happy spouse, happy house. But no, man. Like, no, I'm not. This is not up for negotiation, because why am I with you if you're not willing to meet this.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to get it. I'd much rather it be from you. I'm going to do everything I can at it to make sure it is you, but you got a job to do too. Now, what I'll say to the men is a lot of times, most of us who are in any type of good shape can get going just like that.
Sure.
You kind of got to do all that extra stuff with the women. You kind of got to flirt with them and like talk about their feelings, like say goofy stuff to them during the day, like stuff that we, it doesn't logically make sense to us, but you do have to screw a woman's mind before you screw her vagina. Like you have to, like you can't skip that.
Yeah, that's why a lot of pookies begin to cheeks though, because they got all the time in the world to do all that crazy shit, that side dude fucking bullshit that they got all the time to be getting up on your girl, being that work husband and everything, just all that silly stuff. And it's it's unfortunate though, because for a lot of men, as things get busy, as you go out there and provide for your family, provide to have your make sure your kids have like an amazing life, your wife has an amazing life, you still catching wreck. So the whole sexual, you can be disciplined, but what if you find out that your wife is getting her cheeks clapped by homeboy at the at the gym or at your job? Like you were being disciplined because you don't want to screw up your marriage or anything, and she's not being disciplined, which it's another question you want to ask. Like, can women be monogamous? Because I'm starting to see women are not monogamous as much as non-monogamous as much as men are.
My theory is that no, they can't. They're just trying to be men and trying to serve as karma for the way we've been in the past. But personally, I think it's much easier for a guy to think about it. We could take down a woman who we find incredibly attractive, but we despise everything else about her. We might do that anyway. I don't know too many women who can do stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I think we do have this role reversal thing going right now where a lot of these women are presenting masculine and they trying to be like that, but they ain't built for that type of life. They really
not even close. Not even like I don't know why women want to be out in the streets like that though, because like I said, I think I said this last week where I have like a close friends. I have some friends that are married and then friends that aren't close, but I still know them. And I mean, I don't know their their sexual situation or whatever is going on in there, but for a lot of people, it's I can see why. Like I'm at that part where I'm seeing a lot of divorcees getting on the dating apps talking about like, hey, I'm looking for a partner and I'm looking for someone I can have fun with, my forever person. And I'm thinking like, God, they don't know yet. That person doesn't exist. That person doesn't exist. And this is, what? This is another thing too. So back to my story at the beginning, like folks, I'm going to chop this up and I'm going to, put this in segments. So you're going to have to watch the full episode to catch the story from before. But when you're like the woman that I met when we were talking about the sand volleyball thing, she was in her 40s, and I don't I date most women that I date are in their 40s. Here's the thing. You are going to have to be like what Cam said about his wife. And even though that woman wasn't my wife, you're gonna have to be like what he's looking for, because for me to want to like be in a relationship at that point with someone like that, you're gonna have to be, you don't have to be an amazing person, but I mean, I better be drained. Like you, I'm just saying, like for guys, like why would I, want this 40, I think she was like 45, 46 version of herself. And like, there's someone in their 40s or someone in their 30s. Like, I'm just saying, like, why, like for a lot of guys is like, what are you going to be able to bring to this table? And if you just say just box, then you better be hell of a good box then, because if we're not going to be serious or anything, then you got to be like, you got to be off the walls. You got to be like ready to like, really go after it. But this whole like, being disciplined and, discipline someone like that, because I'm in my 40s and I'm not looking for, whenever I see people that say they want someone that's, that life partner thing, I just swipe left. I don't even look at them because to me, you're on here for the wrong reasons. Then you're supposed to be on here just to meet people, yes, but you're not going to find your life partner on here, not even close. And if that was the case, then you'd be off the app by now. How many guys you got to swipe through to find your life partner? He ain't on there. And it's the same thing with the guys thinking like, hey, my wife is on here. Your wife is getting dicked down by these other guys. So if you want to think she's on here, fine, be my guest. But I'm guarantee you, in most cases, she's not on there. What about that one? Well, they got lucky. They got off they weren't as picky, but they ain't gonna be you. You like what you like, and just like what I like. But a lot of them are not gonna find it on there.
First of all, if all she bringing to the table is box, that's a waste of time. Look, and the problem with us as men is a lot of us are so damn goofy that we think that if she's giving you this great sex and you think that that's all she has to do and you're satisfied with that's goofy to me. Like, nah, she gonna have to do more than that. The coldest thing I heard it was.
Hold on. Is it? Are we saying when I say the whole box and everything? I just meant like That's not somebody to take serious though.
Oh, okay. You talking about just for play, not for stuff.
Yeah, just okay. 100% for that. Like,
okay, that's different.
Yeah, I know there's going to be. You got to have more than that. I'm not finding that as the case though, because a lot of like when it comes to the thing that women or men get a lot of flack for on dating apps and just in general is that sometimes people just think they're one-minded, single-minded. No, if you find the right guy, you're gonna have all types of conversation. Or if you engage the right guy, you're gonna have all types of conversation. He's gonna look past, it's not just gonna be about sex, it's gonna be about more things. But I don't think a lot of women know how to do any stuff like that. And what I find is that a lot of them are terrible at communication.
Because they don't have to. They've never had to work. And I think cold approach killed a lot of that. Yes. And I think these goofy ninjas that give all these compliments and gifts for no reason killed all of that. I think the absence of their daddies killed a lot of that, even though we can see that those numbers are turning around. And a lot of women are raised to be entitled, and they don't get those reality checks until it's too late. Yeah. Kevin Samuels said the coldest thing a long time ago, and it stuck with me ever since. And it hurts, but it's true. A woman is born with value. A girl is born with value. She loses it as she gets older and erases some of her purity. She can work to maintain it and keep it, but she's going to lose some of it. We, on the other hand, are born with no value. Mm-hmm. Our value develops over time based on our outcomes and the work that we do. So it's a dynamic shift, and people need to figure that out, man. Like I'm of the philosophy that ain't no virgins out here. Number one, none. Right. I listen to people tell dating stories. Ain't no virgins out here. So get that out your head right now.
I will say this. There was a chick that I did date for a little bit. She lost her virginity at 18. So,
and see, the fact that we looking at that like that's late is a problem too.
I know, but it's like from what I've heard from other people, it's like younger than that. But you're not going to get no virgin. Like 18 is probably you're lucky if you get 18. Or
I mean, hell, I was 14, so I'm looking at her like, damn. Yeah. But for what it's worth, though, I regret that because I had no feelings attached to that lady at all. It should have at least have meant something.
This guy's the lady.
Yeah. Oh, I never told you the story, did I? Let's just say when she found out how old I really was, she was pissed. She was pissed. I'm not going to air what her age was, but let's just say I started growing facial hair early, and I was very tall by age 14.
Yeah,
I'm just going to leave it at that.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. I looked her up on Facebook like a couple years ago. She looks terrible too. And I'm not the one to talk about people's look, but she was a high school athlete, but now it's like, nah. But yeah, anyway.
Hard left.
Hard left.
All right. Well, I guess we got that out of our system.
Shout out to Paradise Paris. She was spitting some facts, but she definitely had the girls out for the world to see.
Here's the thing. And I know we're about to close this out though, but whenever I know sex sells, and again, like I said, I wasn't even listening to her until like so she knew what she was doing. It just undercuts the whole point because she's trying to have a serious message. Sorry, I'm just Not gonna listen. Not gonna listen, unfortunately. So I mean, I'll listen at some point, but not in the first 30 seconds, I guess. So
Oh man.
all right. Next